last week, we looked at the details of heterotrophic nutrition, but then we only had midway of it. So today we are going to finalize it, and then after we shall have to prepare a balanced diet as a student at home. So a bit of the feedback. I'm so appreciative of some people who gave me feedback last week. We have a lady from Dubai. You said the Arabs, that is why the Arabs in your area are having a bloated belly. Is it? The Arabs in Dubai have a bloated belly because they basically feed on pilau, rice. So I want to make a clarification here. A bloated belly or bloated stomach, it's a symptom of a deficiency disease we call kwashiorkor. And this kwashiorkor disease basically does not take place in adult humans. It takes place in young children, particularly children of 4 years and below, who have been weaned early, and they are placed on maize diet as their staple diet, and then they are not given proteins. So because they lack proteins in their diet, that's when they develop symptoms, signs and symptoms of kwashiorkor, amongst them being a bloated belly, and then retarded mental development. So when you say the Arabs, if it's the adult Arabs, then it's not kwashiorkor. The bloated belly, the swollen belly in Arabs is not because of kwashiorkor, but if it's in the young kids, then perhaps it could be if they're not being given placed on a protein diet. So I wanted to clarify that. Another gentleman is Salongo Sam. Salongo Sam, you said students who are offering certificates in catering, and hotel management are also benefiting. Thank you so much. Your appreciation gives me a reason to come back here every day. So today we are going to look at more on balanced diet. The last time we looked at the nutrients, the different foodstuffs that we put in our body have what we call nutrients or food values. And I said there are 7 in number. The last time I was here, I looked at carbohydrates and proteins and then lipids, but I didn't look at the other 4 which are necessary for our diet. So we said lipids, they are solids, and we also have the liquids. The lipids that are solids at room temperature, they're so-called fats. Like if you ever eat pork, if you know margarine, Blue Band, and then ghee, cheese, all those things are lipids, but they are fats they are solids at room temperature. And then the liquids, the normal vegetable cooking oil that we use. Lipids are very important in our body in a way that they surround and cushion our organs in our body, such as the liver, and the heart, the lungs. The major organs are cushioned by lipids against mechanical injury. So we need these in our diet. Also, 1 gram of a carbohydrate will give you close to 17 kilojoules of energy. But then 1 gram of lipids will give you 39 kilojoules of energy, meaning that lipids per gram provide more energy compared to a carbohydrate. So they're an immediate source of energy very fast in our body. So we need them as well. Lipids in our body when you take excess lipids in your body, they are going to form under your skin at the end of the day, and then that is the increase in weight that you're going to have in your body weight. If they don't form under your skin, then the lipids, they will come and clog your blood vessels, especially if you eat a lot of saturated lipids. They come and form in the surface of your blood vessels. As you take more of them without having a lot of activity, the entire blood vessel can be clogged with the circulated lipids, particularly cholesterol. At the end of the day, you are going to have blood flow through your blood vessel at a higher speed and pressure. That is how we get high blood pressure. And then later on, when the entire blood vessel is clogged, it is sealed off with lipids, then the blood cannot move from one organ to another, and that is how we get what you call stroke or cardiac arrests. So it's very important when you're having lipids in your diet, then they should not be saturated, or you should limit the lipid content in your diet in order for you to avoid heart diseases. The next nutrient in our diet that we should include in our diet is vitamins. Vitamins, they're not needed a lot in much quantities in your diet. We only need them in little quantities, but they are very vital. They are organic in nature. Organic meaning that they have a carbon-hydrogen skeleton. So they were named with letters A, B, C, D, E, and K. These letters are as a result of the times these vitamins were discovered. A was discovered first and K was discovered last. But later on, scientists had to give them names. So we are having vitamin A up to K. And then scientists gave them names. You'll find that A has another scientific name, B has a scientific name, C, D, E, and K. At your level, you don't need to put much emphasis on their scientific names. But then, as we can see, these they are 6 in number. They are divided into groups. We have 2 groups. We have what you call the water-soluble vitamins. And then we have the fat-soluble vitamins. The water-soluble vitamins are only 2, these 2, B and C. B is a complex vitamin. When you look at B, you find there B1, there will be B2, there will be niacin, there will be B5, there is B7, there is B12. All these have their own sources of food, but these 2 are soluble in water, meaning that when you have a food sample that contains vitamin B and C and you place it in water, these vitamins will dissolve out of that food sample into the water very fast. And then these remaining ones, A, D, E, and K, are the fat-soluble vitamins. For those who come from northern Uganda, there is a name called ADEC. So ADEC is a fat-soluble vitamin A, D, E, and K. So what are the sources of food that contain the vitamins? The sources of food basically that contain these vitamins, we have vegetables. Basically here we concentrate on the dark green leafy vegetables like the amaranthus, dodo, solanum, that is nakati. We have tomatoes, onions, and then we have cabbages. Then also we have fruits. We have liver. We have dairy products. You basically find the vitamins in these products, all of them. So at least each of these should be in your diet. And because they are needed in little quantities, it doesn't mean that they should not be placed in your diet. Any deficiency in any of these will result into a deficiency disease. Take, for instance, vitamin A. Highly got from vegetables such as carrots. And if you lack vitamin A in your diet, you're likely to get a disease, a deficiency disease we call night blindness. Night blindness is the ability of a person not to be able to see clearly in the night, especially when you move from a very high lit area and then you move to a dim area in, like, from outside the house, and then you move in a dimly lit area. So you always get a blurred vision or a cloudy vision, that you cannot see very clear in a dark environment. So that one shows that you are lacking some vitamin A, and that you can easily get from vegetables, particularly the carrots. Then vitamin D, this one also is gotten from simple. This one just sunbathing early in the morning. That sun that comes out, the sun enables your bones to easily absorb calcium and phosphate ions in your body, strengthening your bones. But then if you lack enough vitamin D, if you lack vitamin D in your diet, if you're young, you're a baby, you're likely going to get rickets. Rickets, a condition whereby the baby has bracket legs. And then the elderly will get a condition called osteomalacia. Osteomalacia, weak bones paining. Oftentimes we've had our grandparents complaining of backache, bones, lack of enough vitamin D, and being indoors most of the time. So we need this in our diet. Vitamin E, this can be gotten from the normal vegetable oil we take, like when we are frying our food. You can get vitamin E and even the vegetables as well. And then if you don't have enough vitamin E in your diet, a human being, you're likely to get what you call hemolytic anemia. And then this vitamin E is very essential in rats. If they lack it, they can become sterile. Sterility means you are unable to produce functional gametes. And then vitamin K, this contains what you call the clotting factors. And this vitamin is important in your body because it will enable your blood to clot very fast, so that when you get a wound, blood does not continuously ooze out of your body. So if you lack vitamin K in your body, then you're going to suffer from some form of anemia, that is continuous loss of blood from your body, or delay of your blood from clotting in your body. You can get vitamin K through foods such as cabbages, still green leafy vegetables. Then the other two vitamins that I've left out, one is C. This is water soluble, highly found in citrus fruits such as oranges, tangerines, the different classes of oranges, tangerines, then we have neems and whatever. The citrus fruits provide this, and if you don't have enough of this in your body, you're likely to get some kind of anemia we call scurvy. Scurvy is the result of having bleeding gums. Some of us, we go to the bathroom and then you brush, then all of a sudden you're seeing blood oozing out of your teeth, or the gum of your teeth. That is, you're lacking enough vitamin C in your diet. So because it's water soluble, most of the vegetables and fruits that contain it, you do not need to overwash them in water. That is why when you're preparing your nakati or your amaranthus, the dodo, it's better you first wash them when they're whole leaf, and then after you cut them later on. Because if you cut them into smaller pieces and then you wash them in water, a lot of this vitamin is going to ooze out, and before you cook them, you don't have any nutrient in that food. You're only taking in fiber or in your body. So that is vitamin C. Then vitamin B, which is also water soluble. I said vitamin B is complex, meaning that you're gonna find there B1, B2, you're gonna find B5, B7, B12, there's niacin. So each of these has its own food requirements, and lack of any of these in your body will result into a deficiency disease. Take for instance, we have B1, whereby if you lack it, you're gonna get pellagra. If you lack any of the others, you can get diseases such as pellagra. We have beriberi. You can get pernicious anemia. Just lacking any of these, you'll have any of these diseases in your body. And then, where do we find a majority of these B vitamins can be found in rice? And then, because rice is a staple diet to all of us, and this vitamin is water soluble, it's not easily recommended for you to wash rice when you're going to cook it. By the time you're soaking rice in water, the entire vitamin B is already diffusing out, and then you're going to have basically a carbohydrate content of the rice and not the vitamins. They're going to be out already. So that is how important the vitamins are in your diet. The next are the mineral salts. These are important in your diet as well, but in little quantities. You don't need a lot of them. The most common minerals we need in our body, we have sodium chloride, which is always in form of sodium ions and chloride ions. These ones are provided from the normal salt, table salt we eat. Now, these sodium chloride ions are very important in nervous transmission in your body, and also maintaining an osmotic balance in your body of water. And the contents of the cell, the cytoplasm of your cells in the body. So, but these sodium and chloride ions are easily lost out of your body very fast due to conditions such as urine, perspiration, and then feces. We lose a lot of these. So because we lose them often in urine, in our excretory waste. Perspiration is the sweating. If you've ever tested your sweat, it's kind of salty. If you've ever tested your urine, it's kind of salty. I don't want you to test your feces. No. So the salts that are out basically are these. So we constantly lose them out of your body. That's why our bodies, that's why every time we are preparing a meal, we should have salt in our beans. We should have salt in any of the meals, because we constantly lose them out of your body through these conditions that we undergo on a daily basis. Other salts, there are very many that we need in our body. We have iron. We have this forms hemoglobin of your body. Then we have magnesium. We have copper. We have iodine. This one, if you lack it, you can develop what you call goiter, which is a swelling here. So also they are needed in smaller amounts in your body, but they are very vital. Then second last are the roughages. Also known as the dietary fiber. These have a lot of fibers. You know, fiber content of this is very high. And the fiber is as a result of the cellulose content found in the cell walls of the plant material that we eat. So the basic sources of roughages in our diet are the green leafy vegetables and the fruits. That is the solanum, nakati, the cabbages, tomatoes, onions. All plant materials that we eat in our body contain this dietary fiber. And this is very hard to digest by the enzymes in our body. So because of that, we have a group of bacteria that live in our alimentary canal, particularly the colon or the large intestine. They produce an enzyme we call cellulase that will digest the cellulose into absorbable food substances in this dietary fiber, and then after it will be absorbed in your body. But if not that, we eat it and take it through our entire digestive system towards the colon. The colon is near your anus, and this is still the way it is. What is the importance of roughages in our diet? Roughages are very important because they prevent constipation. Constipation is that process whereby when you reach a time of bogging, you go to the toilet and you're struggling to get the feces out. And sometimes some of you will call your parents or any person. You get it so painful. So how do the roughages prevent the constipation? One, the stimulate the contraction of the muscles of the walls that line the large intestines, and when they contract, then that means that the undigested food materials that form your feces can easily pass through, and then you eliminate them out of your body. A reason that's why we need dietary fiber in our food. Then last is water. Water has no any food value in it, but it is very important in a diet. You cannot serve food containing all these and you miss out water. It will be like suicide. Like you serve someone pieces of cassava and you don't put water, it is suicide. It has no any food value, but it's a component of a balanced diet. How? Water is needed in our body for very many functions. Most of the biochemical, physiological processes that take place in our cells and in our body take place in water as a medium. Water comprises 70% of your blood. So you need water. Even the saliva that is going to soften this food upon entering upon you putting it in the mouth contains water. So you need water to dissolve these substances, to facilitate the rate of diffusion of these substances, to transport them to the different body tissues and cells to be used. So you need water as an essential during this. However, in the tropics like now, you need water that is close to 4 liters a day. You should not take a lot of water, more like water that exceeds 4 liters, close to 6, especially in the tropics. If there is a lot of water in your body, then you are going to upset the osmotic balance of your body. Osmotic balance here, I mean the minerals, the sodium chloride. These two, when you take a lot of water, they are going to be, their concentration in your body are going to be upset. That they will dissolve these ions, and then the ions cannot maintain a proper osmotic balance in your body. You end up having most of your cells burst because there is a lot of water in the cells. They keep on taking up water, and because they're surrounded by a very thin membrane, they will burst. And when a cell bursts, then that means it is very detrimental towards your life. So it's better you take water, but of a given amount, not excessively and not very low. So these are the 7 nutrients that we need in our diet. I talked about carbohydrates and proteins the last time I was here. But then I've been emphasizing what happens to your body when you overtake carbohydrates and when you undertake. Overtake this, undertake this. Meaning that for you to have a balanced diet, you need to take each of these 7 per meal, but in equal proportions depending on the energy requirements of your body. Take, for instance, the amount of these that you need in your diet when you do not have a lot of activity, like now you're in your sitting room, you move around the house. The amount of this that you need when you're inactive is not the same amount that you need when you're going to do an activity like running, like farming, like any exercise activity. You will need more of this because you need to have more energy. So our bodies at rest will still need some small energy we call to sustain the body processes like heartbeat, transportation of blood, and that process is what you call, and that is what you call the basal metabolic rate. The basal metabolic rate is that limited amount of energy, that amount of energy that is needed by your body at rest. Even when you're sleeping, your heart is still pumping. When you're sleeping, your blood is still moving. So some energy is needed. That is why these foods must all be there. And on minimum, everybody of us needs this BMR to sustain our lives even when we are inactive. And then the minimum amount of energy of every organism at BMR is 7,000 kilojoules of energy. This one should always be there. So when you're eating, you eat first of all to have this. It's a standard. But then depending on your activity, you can add on, like I am going to do sports, I may need more than 7,000 kilojoules because my heart is going to be pumping at a faster rate. My muscles are going to be contracting, so I will need a lot more energy. That is why you portion your food accordingly. So a balanced diet, as I said, a meal containing all these food values but in their right proportions or amounts. So the activity for today is you're going to sit and make a meal plan for breakfast, lunch, and supper, putting into consideration all these food nutrients in their right proportions with the amount of energy you need on a daily basis. So you portion your food accordingly. So when you're to eat a balanced diet, dear students, you don't need meat every day. No. You don't need a big heap of posho or plantain on your plate. No. You just need to learn how to balance this depending on the amount of energy that you need in your body. I'll move to my next session, that is, when we are eating, we are using our teeth. So I am going to look at the mammalian teeth briefly. When you're looking at teeth, you cannot go away with the word dentition and then the word dental formula. Here in dentition, we look at the number. Then we also look at the arrangement. And then lastly, we look at the shape. The number of the teeth in your mouth cavity, how are they arranged and what is their shape? That is dentition as a definition. You should include all the three: the number, arrangement, and shape of teeth in the mouth cavity of any named organism. So different organisms have different numbers of teeth in their cavity. The arrangement may differ, and the shape may either be the same or may be different. So if an organism has the same shape or type of teeth in their mouth cavity, then those organisms are known as homodonts. These are organisms having the same shape of teeth, and they perform almost the same function. A very good example of homodonts, we have the shark and the crocodiles. These ones have the same type of teeth arranged in the same way in their mouth cavity. Then where me and you lie, we are heterodonts. Like, we have different types of teeth in our mouth cavity. They have different shapes and they perform different functions. So to throw more light on heterodonts, organisms such as mammals, me and you, and all the herbivores, the carnivores, the different types of teeth we have. In primary, your teachers have taught you this, so I will not dwell much on it. So we have 4 particular types of teeth. The first one being the incisors. I'll be abbreviating it with I. Then we have canines. Then we have premolars. And then we have, lastly, the molars. The incisors being the front teeth. And when you look at them, they have a flat but sharp edge of their crown. And then they also have one root. And then this is flat and sharp. Basically, these are used for cutting food, cutting or biting. Then we have the canines, located next after your incisors. The canines, they have one root just like the incisors, but for them they have a unique feature on them, that their enamel is sharp pointed. They have the long and pointed enamel. It has 2 tapering ends and it is pointed. here, very sharp and pointed, and it's very long. And their basic function is to tear food, especially flesh. Like it is, these canines are always poorly developed in herbivorous animals, the goats, the sheep, the cow, and they're always very developed in carnivorous animals. If you remember what carnivores are, that is the lions, the leopards. They have very sharp, some of them are kind of curved, pointed canines for tearing flesh. Then the others are the premolars, located at the rear end of your buccal cavity. These ones have 2 roots. And then their crown is made up of 2 cusps. So these are the 2 cusps, and these are the 2 roots. And their basic function is to grinding of food or crushing of food, located towards the rear end of your mouth. Then we have the molars. The very, very last ones. When you add out the very last set of pair of teeth that develops is the wisdom teeth. And they are the very good example of the molars. They have 3 or 4 roots. And then their crown is made up of 4 to 5 cusps, many cusps. And also their major function is to grind and even to crush food. The premolars and the molars are mostly found in most organisms, and they are highly well developed in herbivorous animals, whereas canines are well developed in carnivorous organisms. I'll not go into much details of the structure of the teeth, but each tooth is made up of particular features, as you can see on your screens. You'll have the outer white part we call the enamel, which is very hard. And then you're going to have this part where the tooth gets fixed into the gum. Then inside the white part, we are having the dentine, which is also like a tougher cavity. And then below the dentines, we are having the pulp cavity. The pulp cavity contains a lot of blood vessels and nerves that are responsible for sensing particular pain, changes in temperature on your tooth. And then the roots, as usual, which are at the bottom. So the teeth being a tissue, it is supplied with a lot of blood vessels. It needs the blood vessels for it to remain functional. So that is what I can speak about the structure of the teeth and the different kinds of teeth we have in heterodonts. Now, let us look at the dental formula. Here we basically look at the arrangement and the number of teeth. The number of teeth in 1/2 of your upper and lower cavity, upper and lower jaws, and then the other one. So, and then each type of teeth is catered for. Take for instance, in mammals, the total number of teeth we are having is 32. And remember, we are heterodonts, so we are having incisors, we are having canines, we are having premolars, and we are having molars. But then how are they arranged in 1/2 of your cavity? We shall have we always have 2 incisors at the upper half of your mouth cavity, and then 2 at the lower half. And then the canines, we have 1 at the upper side and 1 at the lower side. The premolars, we have 2 at the upper side and 2 at the lower side. And then the molars, they are normally 3 at the upper and 3 at the lower side. Now this is for only this, the upper and the lower, for only one side of your mouth cavity. So when you count, these are 3, 5, 8 up, and even there are 8 down, giving you a total number of 16 in one lower half. So when you are looking at it in the other half, you've got to multiply it by 2 to give you 32. So a normal human being, adult human being, should have 32. If you don't reach 32 right now at 16, the majority of us are having 28. It means that you have not yet grown the wisdom teeth. Wisdom teeth being grown by only elderlies because they have seen a lot and now they're a lot more wiser. So for you, you're not yet wise. That is why you're having 28. So you have to keep on praying that you get wisdom. When you get wisdom and you make more wise decisions, you have the entire 32 coming. Then this is for an omnivore, me and you. But then we have herbivores like the cows. The cows also have 32, but their arrangement is totally different from ours. Take, for instance, they also have incisors, they have canines, they have premolars, and they have molars. So the incisors, the cows, the upper part of their incisors are not there. So they're lacking incisors. They're having 0 up, but they are 3 down. The canines of the cows, it's 0 up, 1 down. The PMs, it's 3 up, 3 down. And then these are 3 up, 3 down. So when you count, these are 6 up. Then 6 plus 3, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, then 16. So they're also 16. So when you multiply by 2, for putting the other side of the cow's mouth cavity in place, there will be 32. So why is it that the cow lacks on its upper jaw, it's lacking incisors and canines? This forms spaces in the mouth cavity of most herbivorous animals. And those spaces are what we call the diastema. It's a gap which is supposed to be occupied by the incisors and the canines in most herbivores, if not all, that lacks those. And this diastema in herbivorous animals is very important because it is very important during the chewing and gnawing of food, particularly the grass. So the cow or the goat will take in the grass, and then after we chew, this gap here will enable the tongue of the cow to manipulate and rotate the food in the mouth and pass it over to the premolars and the molars for thorough chewing. So the diastema is very important. In us human beings, we do not have a diastema. However, there are some gaps a small gap that can exist between your incisors, the so-called cazigo, and people take it for attraction, but it has no any scientific purpose. But in herbivores, it is very purposeful. Lastly, how do we care for our teeth? And what is likely going to happen to you if you don't care for your teeth? Care for our teeth. We ought to care for our teeth in order for us to prevent what we call periodontal diseases. Amongst them, we have the gum becoming weak, flabby, swelling, and it cannot support your tooth or your teeth very well, and then it starts bleeding, and in most cases you start having, this is common in young kids, whereby they start plucking, is it plucking? They get their teeth out of their cavity. But when you mature and you don't take good care of your teeth, it can happen to you that you start getting your teeth out even at an adult age, and when you get it out at an adult age, you've already developed what you call permanent teeth. You will not get it back. So you ought to take care of your teeth as a person. In the extreme cases of periodontal diseases, you will get what you call tooth decay. And this is the rotting of your teeth. Now, what happens towards tooth decay? Our mouth cavity has enormous bacteria in it. And most of that bacteria in our mouth cavity is normal flora. Normal flora, I mean, it's normal. It is very far, it has no harm or effect. In fact, our body has a lot of normal flora, bacteria, that has no harm. But some of these bacteria in our mouth cavity will combine with some components in our saliva and the food that we eat. And when it combines those components, as you're seeing on your screen, it will form a tissue we call plaque. This is soft tissue that is kind of yellowish in color, and plaque tends to come and settle at the lower side of your teeth towards your gum. This plaque is very soft, as I said. It can easily be removed by brushing of your teeth after a meal. And in any case you don't brush your teeth after a meal, this plaque will become, now the soft stuff will come stiff or harder, and it form what we call the tater. Others call it the calculus. Now this one becomes so hard that it can't be removed by the dentist. It becomes so worse to a person who develops plaque, you don't brush your teeth, and again you do smoking. The food that comes in your mouth will have a particular color it will leave on your teeth. Plaque is very, very porous, this plaque, that it will allow the food materials, particles to come and enter, and then the smoke that comes from the cigarette will come, and also you get that yellowish color on your teeth that is so pathetic. And then later on, to the extreme cases, it will become black or dark things here at the lower side of your teeth, and that becomes so pathetic. So at extreme cases of this, the moment you eat food on a daily basis and you fail to brush, the food particles will come and stick on your teeth, and now the bacteria in your mouth cavity are going to start feasting on that food. And in the process, they're going to ferment the food surrounding your teeth or your tooth, and then the waste product they'll produce will be an acid. The acid is going to start corroding the enamel of your teeth. When it corrodes the enamel of your teeth, it's going to break it, and then that's when you start getting holes, tiny holes in your enamel. And then those holes will keep on expanding, because the more you eat food and you don't brush, or you eat beef and you don't brush or floss, the food will come and enter into those holes, and then it will get stuck there. And the bacteria will comfortably be eating, producing more acid. The more the acid that is produced, the more the holes in your enamel come in. So continuous bacterial activity on your teeth is going to increase the hole towards what you call the dentine, and the moment that bacterial activity reaches your pulp cavity. In the pulp cavity, remember we said we have nerves and blood vessels. So the nerves are sensitive. When it reaches, the bacterial activity reaches the pulp cavity, you're going to get that agonizing pain. And at that point, it's said to be a toothache. So you get a toothache because the bacterial activity have reached your pulp cavity, and the acid is on the pulp cavity. You get that toothache. Most people will take Panadol or paracetamol, but at the end of the day, it is temporal. It will still keep on coming. And later on, if the activity continues to increase, the tooth will start rotting. And that's how we get tooth decay, and then you get the tooth out. So even to avoid all that, you ought to take good care of your teeth. How? Brush your teeth regularly. Every day you are supposed to be brushing your teeth after a meal. But remember, a meal is anything that you eat. Even when I take water, it's a meal. So at least the 3 basic meals of the day, lunch, breakfast, and supper, you'd brush. But in the event you cannot brush 3 times, at least brush 2 times. Don't sleep with food on your teeth up to the morning. You're giving a lot of time for bacteria to work on it. And when you're brushing your teeth, you don't need to smile at a toothbrush. No. Serious activity you should have serious activity when you're brushing your teeth. Then next, when you're brushing, use a toothpaste that contains fluoride. Some toothpastes go ahead to give you sodium, fluoride, and phosphates. They're very important. These are minerals that harden your bones. They harden your teeth and prevent them from tooth decay. Then the other thing is you can visit the dentist. You can eat food rich in ions, calcium ions, phosphates to enrich your teeth. You can also eat fibrous fruits like apples, sugar canes. Actually, the act of eating a sugar cane is simply the act of brushing your teeth in the layman's language. So eat those fruits to remove those food particles that stick in between your teeth. Then you can do flossing. Some people can also use toothpicks. After eating your beef, it sticks, some of it goes in between the teeth. Get the toothpick or a dental floss and floss out the food particles so that you keep your teeth very clean. So that is what I wanted to deliver to you today. Thank you so much for your time and for watching. What are the activities for today? The activity for today about nutrients, kindly draw out a meal plan to prepare a balanced diet to your people at home. Depending on the energy requirements of all your people. If your dad at home does a lot of construction or does a lot of farming, please give him enough portion or give him enough portions. And if for you don't have a lot of work, give yourself little portions. And then portion your food in order for you to get a balanced diet. Then the next question on the teeth, why do you think it's very important to brush our teeth regularly? It's a question. And then, how do you think the molars and premolars of snakes and lions are adapted towards their function? Please, those are the questions for today. You can attempt them and reach out to me on my email. Thank you so much.